Hey real estate nerds, this is Alex Yoder with Pro Tip Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. And today I want to talk about property visits. Some people call them property inspections, but as a non-inspector, I don't like to use that word. I prefer property walkthroughs or condition reports, something to that nature. But the question is, how often do I need to be visiting my rental property while I have a tenant in place? What is the normal or standard or common number of visits to kind of check on stuff? So first of all, before I answer that question or give my opinion, I want to just convey that nothing I say here is a blanket statement. There are always exceptions. There are always nuances to this job or to just being a landlord, and so just kind of a little bit of a disclosure. But here's my opinion, and I don't like telling people how to think. So think for yourself, come up with your own solution, your own opinion. But here's my opinion and kind of how that came about. So for many years, when I started doing property management, we would have homeowners at a company that I used to work for say, "Hey Alex, would you please go do a walkthrough of my home?" And we would go do a walkthrough of the property, or maybe we were just doing it routinely. And let's say, in this example, that the tenant has not cared for the home at all. The house is in bad shape, very, very dirty, or maybe there's some stains in the carpet, or maybe the yard is neglected a little bit, or whatever it is. And in my experience, I can think of almost 0 times that inspection and that information helped us mathematically from the numbers on the property. And here's what I mean by that. When I present a homeowner with, "Hey, your house is in rough shape, I really don't want to renew this tenant when their lease is over," very rarely will they say, "Hey, can you just evict them immediately?" And I guess the conversation about the ability to actually evict a tenant over these kinds of damages is a different conversation in a different video. It's, first of all, I guess it's not as easy as you might think, but putting that aside, even if I could blatantly evict somebody and easily evict somebody in the middle of their contract for these reasons, would you as a landlord who's viewing your rental as an investment want to incur and face the costs of the damages that have already been done to the home now? Or would you rather face those costs a year from now, or whatever it is, so you can financially prepare? At the end of the day, in many cases, deferring the maintenance costs makes more sense from a longevity return on investment perspective. And so a lot of times I would have investor clients say, "You know what, I don't want to spend that $5,000 or that $10,000 right now. Let's just wait for another year, let them live in their own mess. And in fact, if they're not hard to deal with, just let them stay in their mess as long as they want, because I'm either paying that cost now or later." Now, sure, am I billing the tenant for those damages? Yes. But the ability to actually collect money above the security deposit balance is not great. The collection rates are not great. And frankly, people who are the kind of person that's going to cause that kind of damage to somebody else's home are typically also the kind of people that will not pay debts that are due, right? There's a character problem, and that translates not only in the fact that they were completely neglectful of the rental, but they also are much less likely to actually pay you back. So at the end of the day, the odds are very heavy that you will be the one, as the landlord, footing that bill. So I guess my point here is, should you do mid-year walkthroughs, or should you just do like an annual walkthrough? On my rentals, I just do an annual. Some people will have more of a trust but verify perspective and do, like, let's say a 90-day follow-up after the tenant moves in, see how good of a tenant they're going to kind of be based on letting them get their footing, letting them get moved in. And if you walk through in 90 days, the house is spotlessly phenomenal, maybe you lean away from that a little bit and just visit on the annual. Or if they're not great, maybe you do another follow-up. That's another approach to it. But I've just had so few cases that led from, hey, there's damages, to, okay, let's make a decision that saves you money in the big picture, that in many cases, in many times, it's just a waste of time, whether it's good or bad. And so that is my perspective of what I've seen over many, many, many years of managing properties. There are exceptions to the rule. There are sometimes crazy things that you are really glad you found. Not common though. An example might be like a grow house in the basement or something. But again, even if I found that grow house now, like, we're not living with these people, right? So we're not going to stop them before they do the damage. If they put a grow house in the basement, if I find it now or I find it in 3 months from now, maybe there's more damage, maybe not. So anyway, there are exceptions to the rule, but it's not black and white. And I know a lot of that is just a peace of mind tool. But if you are stressing out about having your property as a rental and losing sleep over the tenant causing damages, I think most property managers and fellow landlords would say you probably shouldn't be renting out your home, because there's an element of, this is just part of the game. Sometimes there are damages. It's not likely that the tenant's going to care for the home like you did. And even if you get lucky and get a tenant that does that, it's not going to happen back to back to back as you rent it out to several different tenants. It's kind of part of the game. And so there's a mindset issue or thing to talk about there. But I would say at a max, maybe a 90-day follow-up, and then see kind of where to go from there. But on mine, I do a 1-year visit. That's my perspective. That's my opinion. Have a good rest of your week.